The COVID-19 pandemic has been tough for everyone, and it's presented new challenges for many of us. Idaho News 6's Natasha Williams joins us now to explain why the pandemic has presented unique challenges for one specific community. Natasha, good morning.
Good morning, Matt. The pandemic has presented new challenges for Idaho's deaf and hard of hearing community, from safety measures like masks to information access to the way they work and learn.
Population of the deaf community in Idaho is about 200,000, and it's quite obvious that this pandemic is impacting every single one of them.
For those in the deaf and hard of hearing community, every day is a battle for accessibility.
Deaf and hard of hearing people are used to doing that 24/7. Every time they go to the grocery store or the doctor's office or they go to their work environment, they have to think about those accommodations.
Those in the community say deafness is a spectrum.
I understand that people have varying degrees. When they say they're hard of hearing, they may be able to function really well and just miss a few things, or they may not hear anything you're saying.
During the pandemic, those in the deaf and hard of hearing community have struggled with feeling connected, both with people.
We've all felt isolated during this time, but we've had a way to communicate with people. And many deaf individuals have felt isolated at home and haven't had that communication.
And with essential information.
Deaf individuals don't have access to news outlets. Many of them are not captioned or don't provide a sign language interpreter. So they're typically the last people to receive pertinent information. And because of that, they are at a higher risk of contracting COVID-19.
The Idaho Council for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing says the silver lining of the pandemic is that it's opened the door for conversations about accessibility.
I really commend those agencies that have been willing to increase their communication and have been putting deaf and hard of hearing individuals as a priority on their list to get out that information.
One of those agencies is the governor's COVID-19 press conferences. The man who interprets the press conferences is deaf himself and is a professor for the interpreting program at Idaho State University. Those in the deaf community say the press conferences are a great step forward in accessibility.
That has been wonderful. I don't know that I've ever seen that before locally, but that's really been a great move.
Even with progress, the community is still facing challenges, especially as more of us work and learn from home.
There are many different platforms that schools are using, and many are not compatible with the use of a sign language interpreter because the video quality is not good enough. It may be that the sound quality is great, but that the video pixels are not at a high enough resolution for a student to be able to see the interpreter.
And masks have also become an obstacle, Matt.
Yeah, I can see that, but why are masks exactly presenting that challenge?
Yeah, so safety measures like masks, they're really important for keeping us all safe from COVID-19. But in ASL, facial expressions are really, really important to make sure that the listener, or rather the seer, understands the context of the message. So think of it kind of as like punctuation in English. And a lot of folks who are deaf or hard of hearing rely on lip reading to get by as another way of communication, especially with folks who don't necessarily know ASL. So being able to read lips is a huge part of communication for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, the Idaho Council for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing has been making sure clear masks are available across the valley to help combat this issue. They've also started distributing pins to help raise awareness for the deaf and hard of hearing community. Natasha, thanks so much for all that info.